Living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break the keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it brew enough to go insane. Living in the dark hasn't treated you well. You're building your own prison cell. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, life's telling you, don't waste it on me. Did I brush you off? Is it your lack of friends? We never met, even if you pretend. Am I in your debt? I don't owe you nothing. Don't say something you'll regret. Hey, wait, don't waste it on me. Spite, life's telling you, don't waste it on me. Hate, rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, life's telling you, don't waste it on me. Rage, don't waste it on me. Spite, life's telling you, don't waste it. I'm telling you, don't waste it. Life's telling you, don't waste it on me. Something's wrong, I feel it circling like vultures round my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. Draw me in, got me spinning now like water to a drain. You were perfect till I realized you hadn't shown your face. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade, you're ringing out to pray. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. I was deaf to the ringing bells, wanting me to break, deafened by the sirens' soothing lies. I can't leave, I am in too deep, been sinking for a while. Prisoner to the same thing I despise, devoted to a fake. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart it's over, same story. You lose to love and glory.
Gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming, and of course, again, co-streaming here with WandrinDutch. It's great to see you guys. What a week it's been in gaming. We have a lot to talk about here today, Dutch.
We do indeed.
But first, of course, I would like to welcome our community. Great to see you here all. I hope you enjoy Fallout. That's been the talk of the town. We will definitely get into that. So I hope you guys are doing well. And
yeah, I'm doing good. Just chilling. I managed to get a little bit of gaming in, not as much as I would have liked, but I'm going to make the most of it this weekend. And play a little bit more Rebirth and get into things. But yeah, and we'll discuss this as well, but having watched a lot of the Fallout so far, it's just making me want to download and install Fallout again. So,
yeah, we will get to that in a second, man. Get serious in a second. Yeah, good stuff. So, of course, if you are here with us live, it's awesome that you spent this evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are,
Zach,
with
focus.
us. Very cool of you guys. You can
There are no
already vote in the chat what to watch here today, and I see Banishers is currently the game people want to see here in the chat, which is awesome. But I'll leave the poll up for just a bit. And yeah, Dutch, we have a lot to talk about. But first, of course, we always talk about the most important part in gaming, the games we play. So let us know in the chat what you guys have been playing. We definitely want to hear that. And Dutch, what kept you busy?
Yeah, so just work first and foremost, and secondly, the only thing that I've actually had a chance to play recently, which was just Rebirth. I've also been playing a little bit of Flight Sim. Downloaded a mod.
How did you like the ending of Rebirth?
I haven't got to the end yet.
I thought you said I finished.
Oh no, I wish.
Rebirth. No, you played Rebirth.
Yes,
okay,
played.
Okay, good.
Played. Yeah, I'm offline now. I'm not streaming it at the second because I've got to the point where you can go back and mop up some of the parts of the map, some of the side quests, and get some of the summons unlocked and things like that. So I'm doing that before I continue with the story, and then I've only got 3 chapters left anyway. So I'm not far off the end, but I'm just doing some of the side quest bits now. Other than that, played a little bit of Age 4 again the other day. Just installed it on the PC, played a few rounds of Age 4. Played a little bit of Flight Sim again, downloaded a new mod for that allows formation flying. So it adds 3 AI aircraft that formation fly beside you, and you can add smoke trails and things like that. So it's really cool for doing flying around in a formation of Spitfires or fighter bombers or whatever you want to do. And it's just a cool little mod. It was only like less than $2. So it's a nice little add-on. But other than that, just a little bit of background work on the showcase, and that's it. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've been mostly playing Dragon's Dogma too. It's it's a massive game. You can easily spend 100 hours in that game, and it is really, really good. The more I play, though, the more I recognize some issues, with the game, and I don't mean bugs or anything. It pretty much runs flawless. I have only encountered like minor things. As much as I do enjoy the game, don't get me wrong, because people will come at me for saying this. I also feel like some of the things that you think initially, oh, that's a cool like game design choice, kind of annoy you
Yeah,
later on in the game. The lack of proper fast travel, for instance, this is getting ridiculous, that you like have to walk across half of the map all the time to just do a little side quest here or there, and that kind of gets to me, because I don't feel that is like valuing my time. It
yeah,
was fun in the beginning of the game, absolutely. Like you thought, oh, okay, so every journey has an impact. Yeah, you need to prepare, get the right equipment, get your travel gear along to make camps along the way, and so on. But if you have to do that for everything you do, it kind of starts to annoy you. Um, Also, like the quest markers, sometimes you can't really find what to do next.
yeah,
And I find myself Googling a lot how to solve certain quests. So, for instance, I was traveling earlier this week for the first time to Tabal, which is one of the main cities in the game. And along the long, long way, you have to walk like for 1.5 hours or so there.
yeah,
Like it's a long journey. Yeah, I'm not just. And then you came across a gate, and the guy won't let you through,
uh,
and I have the permit in my hand, and he said, yeah, but I know this permit isn't for you, you can't pass through. And it was like trying to figure out for 15 minutes, why does this guy not let me through? I have the permit, I have this. And then I Google, and you have to buy like a cat mask and have to put that on, and I have no idea how the hell I should have figured that out without Googling it. It's like stuff like that,
yeah,
kind of annoys me a little, but overall the game is simply amazing. It's a gigantic world, the story is great, the leveling system with the vocations and the party system is awesome. um the 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 actual map design is really, really good. It's a great game that shows its little flaws a little later in the game, not in the first 10, 15, 20 hours, but a little later. But overall, I'm still absolutely enjoying that. So, yeah, I've been mostly playing that. And I went back to H4 this week again. So I played a couple of matches there, and I figured, Dutch, yeah, I'm totally out of practice, man. Like I haven't played it in a while now, and I I lost my my skills. I really have to practice more, but it's still an awesome RTS. So yeah, that was basically my week. So let us see in the chat, what have people been playing. Our community always plays some really good stuff here.
yeah.
So Tom from Toonami seems to be absolutely hooked on Fallout again. He's been
Nice.
jumping in between Fallout Shelters, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas. The good stuff there. Dustin Lambert has been playing Diablo 4, and he's still playing or doing the weekly tasks in Forza Horizon and Motorsport. Nice. So Lethal Migraine has been playing MLB The Show, Fortnite, Mafia 3, and Diablo 4. That's good stuff there. Good stuff. Anyone in your chat?
Nobody. No.
No. Yeah. Last week our community posted a lot more what they've been playing. So let us know here. We
Not even
truly wanna
posting.
know.
I've just Governor Grimm's just turned up, so he's the first official person in the chat today. So welcome to Grimm.
There you go.
Baldur's
There you
Gate
go.
3 for Governor Grimm. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. One of them
Good
days.
stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna close the poll for what we are going to watch here today. It's tie-in between Dragon's Dogma. Now the last vote came in, and now it's a very close one for Dragon's Dogma 2. So we're gonna start with Dragon's Dogma and Banishers. Very close second place here. Is gonna come after that. So, but we'll start with a little Dragon's Dogma 2 here in the chat. And so Dutch,
Yes.
let us talk about the talk of the town, and that is of course Fallout. Amazon launched the series, and actually they dropped the entire season, not just like first 2 episodes and then we get a weekly drop, so you can really binge watch it. And I know you've been doing that.
Yep.
But I have only had the chance. Yeah, I live in Germany, so I couldn't start watching. So it launched like 8 a.m. or so this morning.
Yeah.
So I couldn't start yesterday. But I watched the first episode during my lunch break here today. So
Nice.
I've only watched the first episode, and honestly, it makes a really, really strong first impression. So let us know in the chat. I will put up a poll. What you guys think of the Fallout series. But Dutch, what did you think? You watched a lot more.
Yes, I'm halfway through episode 7 out of 8. So I'm almost to the end of the first season. It does a fantastic job of building up the characters. It does a fantastic job of giving backstory to every main character as well as the further you progress. So you get kind of flashbacks to pre-nukes. It's to kind of understand the stories behind them all and what's driving them in this new post-apocalypse world. But yeah, the characters, the way they're done, the stories that each of them tell, it's just very well represented. And again, it's another game adaptation that is making me want to go back and play the game, which is exactly what you need from a TV adaptation of a famous game franchise. Is you need it to draw people in to go, I want to play the game. Like, this looks really cool. I want to play the game and see what it's all about. I like the way that they've done the Brotherhood of Steel. I like the way that they've done the ghouls so far, and the differences between the vaults as well, which the more you watch the series, you'll see the backstories, because of course if you played the games, not every vault is perfect. Some of the vaults are nicey, some of the vaults are horror. And they've kind of represented that really well in this series, so I'm interested to see what other people think as they progress through it as well. But so far, very strong impression. I'm liking this more than I liked Halo Season 2. Season 2, I thought of Halo was very strong. We'll not talk about Season 1 because it had a lot of misses. Very few hits. Season 2 is better, but this hits it straight out the park from the off, and it gives a lot stronger impression of the Fallout universe and everything to do with it.
I think that is really something that they captured really well. They really stick with the source material.
Yeah.
This typical Fallout vibe. You have from the very first shot in the game, you know, oh right, that's Fallout.
Yeah.
And then once you see the first vault, and the first time you see the Brotherhood of Steel, and the first time she steps into the wasteland, you know, it's like just the atmosphere and everything, the looks, you know, the pit boys and everything. It's just Fallout. It's so I can't really talk about the story yet, because again, only watched first episode, but you can definitely tell that they captured that essence really, really well.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Like I say, I'm just looking forward to seeing what other people think of it as they progress through it, but so far, it's a faithful adaptation of the Fallout universe, and it provides new stories within that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just the other day. Yesterday, I tweeted out and got a lot of retweets, and you can imagine that I also got a lot of, like, not so pleasant comments on that. Under that, I tweeted that I feel like Xbox missed an opportunity here, because the series got amazing reviews. You know, everyone's talking about Fallout because of that Amazon show. And they didn't announce anything Fallout related. Yeah. No announcement of a remaster or remake. Not even the current gen patch for Fallout 4 that they have announced, 2 years ago or so. And yeah, I posted that yesterday. As you can imagine, everyone was like, either the comments were like, yeah, okay, Xbox and marketing,
Yeah.
you know the story, or they were like, why are you hating on Xbox? But it wasn't meant as a hate tweet. It was just like, you get such a, you know, you hit the zeitgeist with a big TV show.
Yeah.
Everyone's talks about it. Why not use that to bring people into the games as well? But today, like a good hour before the show, they announced, or 2 hours before the show, they announced that the current gen patch for Fallout 4 is now coming to Xbox Series X and S, and of course PS5 as well.
Yeah.
On April 25th, so in 2 weeks. It will get a performance mode and a quality mode. We'll have increased resolution, 60 FPS, stability improvements and fixes, and PC is also getting widescreen support with that patch. And Thanaros in the chat also mentions a great point here. The current games are on sale. You can buy all games for under $20 now.
Yeah.
Which is also cool. So yeah, it's just timing. Yesterday I tweeted the one thing, and today they at least do something, you know. I refuse to call it next gen patch, because we are 3.5 years into
It's a
this
current
gen,
gen
and we
patch.
it's current gen patch, and it is. We already talk about the real next gen starting in 26 and stuff. So it's the current gen patch. But that you texted me earlier, man. I feel like I need to jump back into Fallout after watching the series. So you're gonna do that with this Fallout 4 patch? What do you think about this, man?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something, like I say, is when you start watching the series, you just want to. It gives you that sense of exploration again. Like, I want to kind of have that moment of coming out the vault for the first time and exploring the wasteland and having these stories for myself, and that's exactly what this series provides. It gives you that sense of exploration and what's on the other side, and having that need to go out into the wasteland and figure out what's going on and things again. So yeah, I'm absolutely I'm probably going to install it within the next couple of days there, and then finish Rebirth and have Fallout as the one I play kind of maybe just before Hellblade drops, and maybe even after that as well. It's just one of them titles you can kind of just jump into and play on as little or as much as you want. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, especially if you already have played it, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a while. was that when Fallout 4 came out? I want to say 2016? Maybe. Someone in the chat help us out here. When did Fallout 4 come out? 15. Yeah, so it's been a really a long time since I played it, and I actually really enjoyed Fallout 4. I know a lot of people hated on the game, and yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the base building stuff in Fallout. That's not why I play a Fallout game, you know, but other than that, I really did enjoy Fallout 4. Thought it was a great game, and it's been long enough, so I need to look up, man. Do you know whether it has play anywhere?
It
Because
should.
Skyrim does not. Skyrim does not.
Well, then it probably won't then. Start a new
I'm not
game.
sure.
Just start a new game.
Yeah, but even if I start a new game, I was thinking about, installing on console and Ellie, go back and forth.
I'll have 2 separate save files and 2 separate stories.
Ah, fuck you.
The travel story and the home story.
Don't want to do that, man. Don't want to. Anyway, if anyone knows whether Fallout 4 has play anywhere, let us know in the chat. But yeah, I will definitely check it out. I'm not sure if I do another full playthrough because there's just too many other games also coming. But I will definitely going back into the wasteland because I was like sitting there eating lunch and watching the first episode, and I was like, man, it tickles that itch.
Yeah,
Fallout is. I feel like Fallout is such an underused IP from Bethesda.
Yep.
You know, it's so weird. Bethesda Game Studios, they have these amazing and super beloved IPs, you know, and now we have like decades in between them.
Yeah.
You know, Skyrim was a 2009 title. Now we are 15 years later, and they just basically started development of the next game. So it'll be like 27, 28 until we play Elder Scrolls 6, and then we have like 18 to 20 years in between 2 games.
Yeah.
You know, it's like more than a generation of gamers have grown up without knowing what Elder Scrolls is, and the same goes for Fallout. Before we will see a Fallout 5 from Bethesda Game Studios, it's not going to be before 33, 34, 35, something like that. I don't know why they do not just, license that out. Do another Vegas 2.
Yeah.
New Vegas 2. I mean, New Vegas is still to this day my favorite of the entire franchise, and I played them all, including 1 and 2, which a lot of people missed. I played everything, and I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think New Vegas is still one of people's all-time favorites. I think you're right. I think Fallout 4 didn't quite hit the mark. It wasn't a bad game by any stretch, and I'm looking forward to jumping back into it.
No, not at all. Not
but
at all.
The base building, I think it did, as much as a lot of people liked it and like tried to build their own settlement in the wasteland. It still took away from kind of more the exploration side as it was to resource gathering and build a settlement. And of course, ultimately, that's what you end up kind of doing in Fallout 76 as well. So, yeah, it's like, and again, the issue here is that it did the IP took a little bit of a knock when 76 was introduced and had such a terrible launch. And that's how we've left it. And of course, 76 has got better and people love it now, but it didn't launch that way. And ultimately, the last main IP we've had from Fallout was 4, which was, like you say, it was good, but it wasn't New Vegas. It wasn't kind of to the standards it was before.
3. Yeah.
So, hopefully they get back to that kind of cadence that we've known them for in the past, which was kind of the New Vegas and etc.
And I mean, Obsidian, what's his
They're on the
name,
same team now.
again? Yeah, they are. And what's the studio head of Obsidian? Blanking on the name right now. The studio head of Obsidian, end of last year, said in an interview he would absolutely love to do a New Vegas 2.
Mm.
You know, so there's this. There are studios in the Xbox roster that do want to work on that IP and just give it to them,
Yeah.
man. Because I feel simply like, and I need to correct myself. I said Skyrim was 2009, and Dustin in the chat corrected me, and he's right. It was 2011, but still, the point stands. Having like 15 to 20 years in between two games
Yeah.
for such a huge and beloved IP is simply too much. In my
100%.
opinion. I don't know. I don't need like a Fallout game every year. I'm not saying that, but like, come on, you know.
Yeah.
And same goes for Elder Scrolls. Yeah, but anyway, since we are on games, and when will we see sequels and that topic? Let us briefly talk about Dead Space and the Dead Space IP.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, something weird happened this week. There were rumors out there that a Dead Space 2 remake was in the making and was then shelved because of lackluster sales from the first remake. You know, then other rumors appeared that a new IP was, not new IP, a new game, complete new Dead Space game was in the works, but it was also shelved. Then Jason Schreier, apparently, I'm not able to see his tweets because he blocked me for some reason.
Oh,
like,
nice.
I feel probably a lot of people are in
Yeah.
a similar boat there.
Yeah.
And I don't care. But then he came out and tweeted something like denying that. And then the EA came out and said, yeah, those rumors are absolutely not true. And then Jeff Grubb came out and said, well, but they are. And I don't know. What did you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, EA came out and said, essentially, like there wasn't. It was essentially a discussion stage. It wasn't that the project was cancelled. There wasn't a project to cancel.
Yeah.
Which is more believable
Yeah.
than it was started and then cancelled. Because if you have a look at what the studio actually has in the works right now, it's 2 major IP. So why would they authorize a third IP when they've already got 2 IPs for the studio already in the works? One of which is a Star Wars IP, and the other one is no, not Star Wars. One of them's Iron Man, and the other one is, what's the other one? I've forgotten the name of it now.
Battlefield.
Yes, and Battlefield. So you've got a major Marvel IP in Battlefield. So would you add Star Wars on top of that as well? Not, yeah. What?
Dead Space.
Dead Space. Yeah, me.
Now,
I don't know why I've got.
confusing things.
Yeah, I'm getting confused here. But yes, would you add that on top of it in the middle of 2 other major IP? Probably not, because you want to make sure those are correct. So I don't think it'll be an idea will be cancelled. I think the idea will be temporarily shelved whilst they actually do 2 games. But I think the idea that a game's been cancelled before it's even got to the authorization stage, I think is just a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah. See, I'm really not sure what to make of this. We never really learned how well did the first remake do. Was it financially a success or not? It was critically very well received. A lot of people played it and really enjoyed it. And but yeah, I don't know. I just found the story super weird with IGN then coming out, and they found something out, and Jason Schreier and Jeff Grubb, and everyone was like, yeah, and the official statement was, yeah, simply not true from EA.
Yeah.
Man, would you like to see a remake of Dead Space 2?
I'm neither here nor
Similarly well done.
I'm neither here nor there when it comes to Dead Space 2, to be honest.
Mm.
Dead Space 1 was the favourite. They did Dead Space 1 to a high degree. I'd love to more to, and this is just me personally, and everybody might have their different opinions, but I'd rather studios just focused on new IP than just resting on the laurels and doing revised remakes every 2 minutes. And we've got loads of them.
Yeah.
They did the first one great, but if we're going to get an Iron Man game instead that's not been done before, then I'd rather them do a new Iron Man IP, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm also in a similar boat. I always prefer a new game rather than a remake. There are certain remakes out there that are simply well done, and like the Resident Evil remakes, Dead Space was one of them that was really well done.
Yeah.
I would also be up for that. So I'm neither here or there with that. Just want to see what they're actually working on, because I feel like EA has a lot of good stuff in the working right now. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to see what they are doing with the Iron Man IP. Then of course, sorry, I'm blanking on the name. What's the RPG, the big one? Help me out here, Dutch.
Dragons.
Dragon Age.
Dragon Age, that's the one.
Sorry.
All these dragons and
What
dragon
is wrong
things.
with us today, man? We're blanking and confusing and
one of them days, Boxy. It's one of them days.
Yeah, one of them days. Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to that. There's also a lot of talk about Battlefield again.
Yeah.
They've shifted the two studios that made Star Wars Squadrons and over to the Battlefield team, and also the Dead Space studio is now working on Battlefield. So since 2042, it's also like what now 3-4 years old. I feel like that should be close. So EA actually has some stuff in the making where I do want to see more. Do you think we will see something this summer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a hot minute since we've had the last Battlefield, and this one has been worked on for a little while now. To be fair, it's not something that's just new and hot off the press. They've been working on this Battlefield for a little while now, so hopefully we'll see it. Hopefully it's a return to form. I think the Battlefield, the most recent one, was okay, but it was let down by the fact that there wasn't a campaign, and everybody wants to see them return to the campaigns because they did some terrific campaigns in Battlefield. Everybody remembers Battlefield Bad Company, and I think a good mixture between Battlefield and Bad Company in terms of the way that they set out the campaign and the story would be a good return to form for them. So hopefully the next Battlefield isn't just multiplayer. Hopefully they have a good campaign.
Good campaign.
I didn't like the way that they did it in Battlefield 1 or the one just before 20, whatever the last Battlefield was, where they had a campaign that was made up of smaller stories, but it was only like one level per person. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that approach.
Yeah, me neither. It was a nice idea to have these like closed episodes in a campaign.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, neither of them felt impactful because they were simply in itself. Every story in itself was simply too short to like get connected towards.
Yeah, you just didn't care about what was happening on screen. You didn't care.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but man, let's see. The last years they didn't do their own showcase, but maybe they appear at the Summer Game Fest. From Jeff.
Well, I was going to say Jeff doesn't have Call of Duty this year, so
yeah, he does not. Maybe he's picking up Battlefield.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see the Iron Man game.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're ready to show that. But I feel like Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Thanks to the chat. Dragon Age Dreadwolf is long overdue to be shown.
Yeah.
They've announced it a couple of years ago, and have been working for a while on it now. And there was originally the intent to release it this year. I don't think it's gonna come out this year, but who knows? Maybe they announce it in June and release in October, November. Who knows?
Yeah.
Definitely wanna see that. Because the things we've heard is like, yeah, they're going back to a little bit more like not linear, but not open world kind of game design, like they had in the first couple of Dragon Ages. And yeah, party system is going to be a bit more old school, is what we hear. And yeah, I definitely want to see Dragon Age because it's a fantastic IP.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see, man. Let us move over to Xbox. Xbox. We have a lot of stuff to talk about here today. I want to start with something I have not seen a lot of people talk about. Because of course the big talking point over the last week was like Sarah Bond and their back combat team, and we will get to that in a second. But I want to start by talking about something Xbox related that not a lot of people picked up, but I feel like this is something, could be something big, maybe not directly impacting us here in Europe or America, especially in the Asian market, because Microsoft entered a new agreement with NetEase to bring more titles back to China.
Yeah.
And it also goes especially for ABK games, because Blizzard and Activision, they retreated last year from the Chinese market in January. And now they have, again, a licensing agreement. And Phil Spencer said the following: returning Blizzard's legendary games to players in China while exploring ways to bring more new titles to Xbox demonstrates our commitment to bringing more games to more players around the world. And I know the Chinese market, I mean, it is potentially a ginormous market, but he also said, like, okay, this is not just, okay, we are bringing our games now back to Chinese players, but we're also bringing more games from China to Xbox. What do you think about this? Is there a big potential? Maybe it's nothing. What do you think?
Yeah, there's always big potential. It's a market that they've successfully failed in for many years.
Yeah.
In the Asian markets in general, China being one of the largest, if not the largest. But didn't China have? Was it China that had a ban on video games, or ban on certain sections of video games for a while?
Yeah, it was not like a ban per se. They had like certain Western companies out of there, and then they had like very harsh restrictions to certain ages. So don't cite me on this, but it was something like, yeah, when you're under 12, you're only allowed to play like 30 minutes a day or so.
Yeah, yeah. It was something ridiculous like that. But yeah, it's a hard,
something like that, you know.
It's a hard market to crack, and it's a heavily regulated market now over there as well. So, good on them for trying. We'll see how it does. There's obviously a lot of games they've never played before that they'll now get a chance to play, and they've got a lot of consumers now that they can target that they didn't have before, because of NetEase. So let's see how it pans out. But everything's a little bit of a positive.
There is a big Chinese game coming this year with Black Myth Wukong.
Wukong, yeah.
That just shows you, yeah, there are great developers in China. Yes, they are. They have a difficult government, and especially the US, United States, and China have a difficult relationship and all that stuff. But putting that aside, Black Myth Wukong, for instance, looks absolutely awesome. I'm really looking forward to that game. And opening that more up, the Chinese market and the Chinese developers bring it to be able to bring their games to a US company gaming platform like Xbox. I do hope that something good will come out of this, man.
Yeah. Same. We shall see.
Yeah, definitely. But Dutch, let us talk about the big Sarah Bond. Well, it wasn't an interview. It was like an internal email that was that she sent to the team. But in a gigantic organization like that, such mail at all, kind of things, very well that those things will get leaked. And Sarah Bond wrote to the team, we have formed a new team dedicated to game preservation, important to all of us at Xbox and the industry itself. We are building on our strong history of delivering backwards compatibility to our players, and we remain committed to bringing forward the amazing library of Xbox games for future generations of players to enjoy. She also commented on the future hardware plans. It's been nearly 6 months since we came together as an organization, that she was referring to, like ABK there, and our collective achievements in that time frame are tremendous. Everyone should feel incredibly proud of what we've achieved and excited about the opportunities ahead. We are moving full speed ahead on our next generation hardware, focused on delivering the biggest technological leap ever in a generation. So basically, she's doubling down on the promise she made during the official Xbox business update last month. So, yeah, Dutch, there are multiple things in that. Of course, again, the promise of the hardware and the next leap, and definitely reopening up a backward compatibility team, because they had that. It was basically shut down because they basically brought all the games already into back compat. I know not every game is in there, but those games that are not included are mostly for licensing reasons. Not any technical limitations or something like that. And that's why they basically shut down the back compat. And now they reopen the back compat team. So let us talk about that first. What are your thoughts on this? Because I have a lot of thoughts. And of course, let us know in the chat as well. What do you think about Xbox reopening a back compat team? Why is that? Yeah, what's the reason here? And yeah, let's share your thoughts before I share mine.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got to think about here as well with the back compatibility team, it's also forward compatibility, so it's an entirely different ballpark. So, as much as we've now exited the generation that they are losing the ability to get the licenses for really old games, so we're talking Xbox One, 360, the way some of the companies don't exist anymore, so they can't get the permissions. Or some of the companies have disbanded, or etc. So it's quite hard to get the permissions in order to provide the free upscaling and free HDR and free 60 frames, etc. Which is part of the issue of them kind of putting a halt on the backwards compatibility team last time, was because they'd done as much as they could in terms of the titles that they could provide without those hindrances from licensing issues. However, we're now going into what would be another generation where we've now got the entire roster of Xbox One games there, Xbox Series games there, and for them to provide game preservation going forward, you would need a backwards compatibility team that were able to provide free upscaling and free enhancements and HDR and so on and so forth for games that were last generation and this generation for the next generation. So Xbox One games that never got the One X or the Series X enhancements should be able to make or take advantage of free enhancements for the next generation. And because the vast majority of those companies and publishers and licensees and license holders from Xbox One to now are still around, unlike the Xbox original and Xbox 360, it should make preservation and providing those enhancements to previous titles far more straightforward, which means they've got an abundance of titles to provide this to. So there's a lot. We've seen that, of course. We've seen the free enhancement that we're getting for Fallout soon. That's last gen coming into current gen. But that's the kind of thing we should be expecting for a lot of older titles that never had that upscaling or the 60 frames patch that we'd love to see a 60 frames mode on, or whatever it might be, that they can implement via the new tools that they've got. So yeah, there's reasons for it. And having an entirely separate team for that means that they're not pulling resources from one or another. And they've got a team that works with the technology team in order to provide that service for all the titles.
I was muted. Sorry.
It's hard. I can't even warn you when you haven't got camera on.
Yeah. Had to briefly turn it off. Back on now. Yeah. See, when I read this, I was like, oh, okay, interesting, really interesting, because they have basically the increased resolutions, the FPS boost for the games where it's possible out there. You can always argue, yeah, there are still this and that game left, but basically every game where they were able to do that license-wise, more or less they did do that. But so why do it? Why reopen that again? Because if you have your games now running, everything running on the x86 architecture, it's easy to move those games forward with the next gen. And she specifically mentioned that the back compat team is also working on the bringing your libraries forward to the next gen. We were all kind of expecting that to happen. Yeah, that the next gen Xbox will definitely also have the back compat program. So why would you make a big announcement to your team? Okay, we have another thing. So there are multiple reasons I came up with. The first one would be obviously, maybe they move away from x86 architecture. Yeah. The second one could be, does it have to do with ABK being there now, and they have this gigantic library of games, and suddenly now licensing wise certain things are possible. Maybe they even bring some games in the library that haven't launched on Xbox consoles yet. That were a lot of those games are PC only games, you know. Yeah. Maybe you need it for that kind of. So maybe it has something to do with ABK. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that the next gen Xbox is heavily relying on AI, because that's basically something we all expect, that one of the big things in the next generation of consoles, especially on the Xbox console, AI will play a big role. And maybe, with that you could do even more to all your back compat titles. So there are multiple reasons you can think of. So yeah, let me touch on the first one a bit, because they talked a lot about now the next gen will be the biggest technological leap in a generation ever. So what if the back compat program needs to be there again because they switch architectures? So what could they do? They could still stick with x86, but move over to Intel or NVIDIA.
Yep.
Yeah, have an NVIDIA GPU in there. I mean, they're no stranger to that. The first Xbox had that, the OG one.
Yep.
Nintendo running on an NVIDIA GPU. So there are possibilities to develop a proper APU with an NVIDIA GPU in there, and especially when you talk about AI, that makes a lot of sense, because let's be real here. AI wise, Nvidia is simply miles ahead towards AMD.
And there's rumors as well the 5 Series GPUs are going to be AI implemented as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we will see it at the end of this year, by the way. Rumors are November, 5 Series from Nvidia. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's something. And yes, I know they are still running on x86 architecture, but you would be moving away from RDNA and a Zen CPU, RDNA GPU architecture, and the Zen architecture for the CPU, and maybe or probably you would need to optimize a lot of those games then again for that particular architecture. It could be one thing, but then on the other hand, ARM is in everyone's mouth when you talk about Microsoft, and they just demonstrated their Surface brand moving over to ARM, and performing really well, being on par with the Apple Z1 chip set, and in certain areas even exceeding those. So having like a proper partnership there already in place, making Windows compatible to ARM. Windows is now also running on really well optimized on an ARM architecture, and especially with their efforts like bringing PC and console closer together. Phil talked about this. He wants to see stores like Epic and such on itch.io on consoles. So bringing those architectures together also has a lot of stuff or potential in it, and I could definitely see that happening as well, because it would only make sense for them. They have the Windows core now optimized for ARM. The ARM chips are really well performant on the PC side of things now, and also those chips have strong implementation for supporting AI. They are a lot more scalable across different things, and if we think about them making a handheld, ARM architect, there's a reason why every phone is basically running on an ARM architecture. It's just when you look at power consumption versus power output, that is just an architecture that is simply more efficient in that space. So if you think about an Xbox handheld and a proper regular console, both running on ARM, very unified with what Windows does then, and they have obviously a close relationship, because that ARM chip was specifically developed for Microsoft. I don't know. What do you think? There's a lot to talk about there on the architecture side of things.
Yeah, I think we touched on it last week. I think it's a possibility that could go any direction here. I would love to see them go away from AMD and be NVIDIA with an Intel CPU or an ARM CPU, and create a kind of implementation of an APU between the two, between NVIDIA and either ARM or Intel. And I think based on this, it's not that this generation has been terrible, but it's certainly not been the leap that everybody expected compared to last gen. And I think that's in part of the drawbacks that the AMD APUs provided. I think that we've had severe bottlenecks on these consoles from a CPU perspective. The GPUs are okay, to be honest. They're okay. They could still be a little bit better. They still need more RAM as an overhead. As we've discussed, still being on 16 gig, and even that's partitioned, so it's made up of, okay, one of them's got like a gig, 2 gig left behind. The other one's got 4 gig partitioned off for other internals. So it's not the most ideal of setups, and I think in any modern computational device now, when you're talking about high-end gaming compatibility, you need, first of all, really big video RAM, and obviously for them versus SD RAM on the consoles only having 16 gig, I think, is a drawback. The vast majority of high PC games now, 12 gig is the absolute minimum you need, really, for some of the modern games to get the best out of them. And you're touching on just slightly over minimum. So ideally you need 32 gig as a baseline for these next gen consoles, and then you need a CPU that's at least clocked in at 4 gigahertz, at least, not 3.1, not 3.2. These consoles have got a set to 3.6, but the average frequency is 3.1 gigahertz, so there's a bottleneck really there. So there is drawbacks to this. There is drawbacks to the console, and as to why we're not getting the performance we expected this gen. It's a mixture between the CPU and the overhead RAM capabilities of the GPU. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see a change in that for the sake of progression, to actually get performance out of these consoles going forward that might last more of the test of time than what we're seeing. Because ultimately on consoles, a year and a half after launch, they're already miles behind the pack. Like, it's already way behind as to what we can do. Developers, by the time they actually get to use the tool sets on the likes of Unreal, the GPU and the CPU can't do as much as it should be able to do. So we're not seeing some of these games hitting what they could be doing because of the drawbacks of console.
Yeah, and I think that the first point you made is really something when we look at what AMD delivered. At the very beginning of this gen, for the first 1.5 to 2 years, we talked a lot about the tools not being ready and the tools not being there. But when you look into that a little bit more deeper, yes, Xbox was a little bit behind. Yeah, we get that. DirectX 12 support came a lot later than expected, stuff like that. However, most of these issues were actually related to AMD. They simply didn't have the drivers ready for RDNA 2. Yeah, everyone blamed it, of course, to COVID, but at the end of the day, a lot of those limitations that we saw in the first years of this generation came back to AMD not having their stuff ready. Yeah, a lot of the drivers, a lot of the base code wasn't ready. A lot of the AMD support wasn't where it was supposed to be. And so I think Microsoft definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
And that is simply the fact when people said, yeah, but PlayStation had their stuff more together. A lot of people forgot, yeah, well, they didn't run on a full RDNA 2 architectures. Drivers were simply more advanced because it was an old, quote unquote, older technology that just had a head start in terms of all those kind of things. And Microsoft definitely had noticed that. And now, of course, what would you do as a console manufacturer? You would look at that stuff and try to figure out, okay, how can we prevent that from happening again? And whether it's ARM or whether it's NVIDIA, we don't know. I think a lot of more signs point towards ARM at the moment. But yeah, Microsoft would be stupid to not look at other options. And we know for a fact that at least 1.5 months ago, Microsoft had not ordered a new APU from AMD for next gen yet. While Sony did have put down their order on a new PS6 APU. So it would be, from this point alone, it would be absolutely interesting to see them doing different, because yes, there is a little different in between not having full RDNA 2 architecture and the PlayStation with the PlayStation 5 and full RDNA 2 architecture with the Xbox series. But at the very end of the day, let's be real, those are basically the same consoles. There is tiny minor differences
you know what
between.
would be good as well would be the implementation of NVIDIA's DLSS hardware DLSS.
That's what I mean. Like, let us really have different consoles out there. I would absolutely love that. If one goes with AMD and the other one goes with NVIDIA, and you have, you can really tell a difference in between the two hardwares, and see the strengths and weaknesses and so on. And it would be simply from a technological point of view, very, very interesting. And I see a lot of people asking here in the chat, Lethal Migraine, for instance, about what is actually the difference in between ARM and x86 architecture. The ARM architecture was basically designed for mobile. It is a simpler architecture. They basically, it was designed with the idea in mind to have very fast executions of simpler instructions, while the x86 architecture is designed around prioritizing and syncing a lot more complex instructions, also parallelizing more instructions. That's basically the key difference. So it has, x86 is more efficient when it comes to more complicated computations. However, the ARM architecture is way more energy efficient. Yeah, that's why it was designed for, originally in mind, for mobile devices, where battery life simply plays a role. And it's simply, you have a low cost and a low energy efficient or high energy efficiency when it comes to solutions for CPUs, GPUs, and NPUs. And it is also a lot more scalable, or easy, not a lot more, because obviously x86 architecture is also very scalable, but it's easier to scale an ARM architecture because it has simpler instructions. It doesn't rely on heavily parallelized processes to simply scale this. That's why you have phones that cost like $100 and phones that cost above 1,000. And it's very scalable along that way. They all run the same shit.
Yeah.
It is easier scalable because a lot of the things, when you look at CPUs, yes, there's a lot of stuff in the architecture when you compare an i5 and an i7 and an i9 Intel CPU, for instance. But a lot of the things also rely on simply having more cores. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to explain it. That is basically relying on parallelizing your stuff, and that's things where ARM definitely shines. And again, it's with that idea in mind, where you look at a world where Microsoft probably is looking towards releasing a handheld alongside a regular console, like a Series X successor, proper box under your TV, but also a handheld. Moving over to ARM kind of makes sense. And they made a lot of progress in AI as well. It's not just driven by Microsoft, but of course, AI implementations in mobile processors is a big thing in the industry. It's considered to be the next big step for smartphones, and Microsoft has partnered with them. Yeah, again, Surface is now ARM based, and Windows is optimized to run on an ARM architecture. And the first results we've seen, just read the other day, 2 days ago or so, I read a very interesting article on them having like really no performance losses. Again, they didn't test it with games, but they tested it like with regular benchmarks towards a processor that is considered very, very successful on the Apple side of things, the Z1 and a chip, and which kind of was seen as like the bench in that market, and we have now Microsoft, a significant partnership optimizing ARM for AI applications on Windows. Like, okay, would only make sense in my opinion. And again, I would love to see different things, whether it's NVIDIA or ARM. I'm not advertising here for ARM. I actually would prefer to have a proper NVIDIA GPU
Yep.
in my next console. And I've seen people in the chat, yeah, but the costs, yeah, definitely. That's the thing. NVIDIA has basically a monopoly in that space. If we are real, yes, there are AMD GPUs, but when it comes to hardware support of AI, the Tensor cores from NVIDIA, they have basically a monopoly in that space. Let's just call it what it is. And that's why a 4090 costs what it costs, yeah. And of course, with Microsoft moves over to NVIDIA, that will be a cost impact. That will definitely be a cost impact. But listen, man, I would love them to do this 2 SKUs for next gen, the handheld plus the regular console. But if you have a handheld that is also or can also be played in docked mode, obviously, yeah, having a proper AI upscaling in that thing, in that handheld, that allows you to, it renders at 1080p, but if you look at things like DLSS, what DLSS can do with 1080p, if they render an upscale then towards 1440, 1800p, something like that, the results are insane. So if you do that in docked mode on your handheld for 500, $600 in that price window, yeah, you don't need to release a console base box that also costs 500-600. Yeah, let us have a premium console that costs 800, $900.
Yeah.
For those who want it. Yeah, because people want premium products. You know, the best-selling phones on the market are the premium ones. The big Samsung and the big iPhone. Those are the top sellers. People have interest in premium products. And why not the 4080 and 4090 are massively successful. People want premium products. Yep. And
see, I always stick. And this is what people have got to realize, especially when it's something that you use all of the time, you tend to want the best. The reason I stick to the high-end phones and always get the big ones and the top tier ones is because a phone is something you were using literally every day, all day, and use it for a multitude of applications, whether that be work, whether that be social, whether that be music or video or recording important moments in your life, or whether it be taking photos of important things or whatever it might be, it's up there. And when it comes to your day-to-day hardware, there's always going to be that section of the market that is, again, not just the hardcore, but people that take the hobby a little bit more seriously, that want the best. And there's a reason for that. They want the best, they want the highest end hardware, and they pay the money for it because they spend a lot of time on it. It is their most favourite hobby. Likewise, cinephiles will always get the best TVs they can get because they love watching big films on there, and they'll go out and get the best sound system they can get because they want the best audio to go for their films. And there's always a market for high-end technology. Always is, always was. That's why there's a 4090 and a 4060, because the 4060 is for those who are just the baseline, just starting in, getting in there. The 4090 is for those that really care about pushing technology as far as it can go on PC. There's a reason there's a start and an end, and there always should be, and consoles should be no different. If it was up to me, you'd start a generation with your standard product and your premium product every time, because ultimately those are the two markets you should be aiming to hit.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be worrying about a mid-gen refresh. You should be saying, okay, this one is going to deal with us from, like, it's got a capable APU that matches with the APU of the high end, but the GPU on this APU is significantly better on the high end product. That one, like, you start off, the low end one's got 24 gig of SD RAM, and the high end one's got 36, 48 gig of SD RAM. They both have the same APU, clocked at exactly the same. Because ultimately, when you're buying a GPU on a PC, it doesn't matter what CPU you've got, because that CPU you're going to use is going to be the same CPU that you use for the GPU regardless.
Yeah.
So it makes no difference. You always start with a CPU that is going to not bottleneck the high end or the low end version of whatever you're putting out. After that, the amount of RAM you've got is ultimately what's going to affect it. It's the same in phones. It's exactly the same in phones. Ultimately, you've both got the same chips, you've both got the same APU, but on phones, you've got a different RAM set. High-end phones have usually got 12 to 16 gig of RAM, if not more.
Yeah.
Low-end phones have about 8 or less. And that's how it goes. That's how it should be.
See, that's the thing. Looking from this as the console manufacturer, again, I would love a NVIDIA GPU in there.
Yeah.
ARM, significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Significantly cheaper than your regular APUs, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD or whatnot, yeah? And saving money on that chip, on the actual chip, allows you to spend the money somewhere else, like you mentioned, more RAM. Yeah, you could actually make a different kind of console at the same price level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would make the console space super interesting again. You know, suddenly the Digital Foundry videos, comparison videos would be interesting again.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now when you look at those, okay, and you zoom in 800 times, and then you see one pixel is a little bit more flickery over there, and then the aliasing on this one leaf in the very, very distance is a little bit sharper rendered there. And like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we are looking
It would be
at
different
right now.
architecture. It would be far more interesting to compare two architectures trying to run the same game than it would be seeing
Exactly.
the same architecture and wondering why it's not running the same.
You imagine a game like Star Wars Outlaws comes out, one running on the ARM architecture, one running on the AMD architecture, or one running on an NVIDIA APU and one running on an AMD APU. Suddenly you would have like, oh, now it's interesting again. Where's better optimized? Where can the advantages of each one like really shine? Yeah. I would love to see like different hardware in PlayStation and Xbox.
Yep. 100%. It would definitely make it more interesting, like you say. But for me, the NVIDIA thing represents the ability to implement something that is highly implemented across the industry, and that is DLSS. Like every game implements DLSS on PC, and it gets frequently updated. The moment, like, how many times do you have to update your NVIDIA GPU on PC? It is almost daily. Every time a new title comes out, it's DLSS 2.3.4 support, DLSS 2.3.4 support, like continuously all the time.
Let's be real. It's the standard on on PC, you know, and it is a phenomenal technology. Yeah. Again, the main difference between AMD and NVIDIA GPUs is that NVIDIA has hardware support for AI computations. They have these tensor cores. I know you can do ML also on an NVIDIA and on an AMD GPU, yeah, with the FP16 capabilities, for instance, in the Series X, you can do machine learning, and basically AI algorithms as well, but they are not hardware supported, and they have the very unique technology with that out there.
Yeah.
Intel XeSS also, it is also something that does support. They don't call it tensor cores because the name is safe, but it's basically the same idea. They also have that, but let's be real, who uses an Intel GPU? So yeah, the standard is DLSS, and it is a fantastic technology. Yeah, I still have the 3080 in my PC, so not DLSS 3, but DLSS 2. Still amazing technology.
Yeah.
Probably going to invest in a 5080 then again once those come out. I always usually leave out one generation, you know. But nonetheless, that would make, again, the console space super interesting. And I've said it earlier, like the original Xbox had an NVIDIA chip. And yes, it didn't really go that well. It was a super short generation. They moved along very early, and they had a difficult relationship there. But man, that's 20 years ago. Yeah, a lot of stuff changes, and why not go back to NVIDIA? I would absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And it would, to make the full circle again, it would kind of explain why you would probably need a back compat team again.
Yeah.
Because then you would probably need to do a little work to all those titles to make them run. Or probably they would run. Would they really benefit from the better performance? But if you combine that idea of having Tensor, NVIDIA DLSS in there, and apply that to all your existing games, like, man, getting goosebumps already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Neil GameSpark in the chat as well. He's saying, I wonder if machine learning will help Xbox learn that that their machine needs a 1 versus 100 revival ASAP if they want to win. Yeah, bring back 1 versus 100. Yeah, that was an interesting community experimentation that probably got more popular than they expected.
And I see a lot of people in the community asking for bringing 1 versus 100 back.
It was a great community game show. I don't understand, like, nobody did it, and nobody has done it since. And you could go on there and you could win Xbox points or Microsoft points or whatever it was, or arcade games or whatever. It was a credit for your Xbox, or it was a really good way of implementing, like, day-to-day knowledge and general knowledge quizzes in order to win prizes and bring it back. It's both educational and people want to win money and and Xbox credit.
Absolutely, I don't know why they don't bring that back. JB in the chat, JB1521 asks in the chat, does NVIDIA make APUs? Yeah, just look at the Switch.
Yeah.
So Switch is using an NVIDIA APU. So yeah.
I mean, they need a far more powerful one, to be fair, like, but they just don't want to pay money.
That's a different story, though. Yeah. But yeah, I think that what he basically means is NVIDIA is not really known for CPUs, and that's correct. Yeah. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to combine an Intel CPU and the NVIDIA GPU chip design into one APU. Yeah. The APU is designed anyway by the respective console manufacturer. So yeah, and that would definitely make for a very, very interesting next gen if we have that that difference. So when Sarah Bond again talks about this big generational leap, AI obviously comes to mind, that they will probably dabble around with that. And it would just all come together because the one thing that AMD is really not known for is AI support.
Yeah.
So, yeah. anything you want to add to this awesome conversation, man?
No, like I say, I think part of the generational leap, and if you have a look at all the studies as well when it comes to PC gaming now, and this goes for all PC players as well going forward, is you will need, in order to take advantage of a lot of these games that are coming out now and over the next couple of years, you will need to invest in a GPU that has no less than 12 gigabit of RAM, and that's VRAM, not like your regular RAM that you put in the PC, where you have, which
Yeah.
I'd always recommend to be minimum 32 gig, by the way. But VRAM, if you have a look at the 6 and 8 gig cards now, they're coming to the point where they are struggling to keep up with a lot of the games that are coming out. And some of them, even then, with a little bit more than that, are also not really implementing or being able to keep up with some of these new games that are going to be coming out. And even watching Digital Foundry's video that they released on Hellblade, because they got the raw footage, they're also in the same mindset as us when it comes to saying it'll be interesting to see what this is going to require to run Hellblade on PC, because they think it's going to be very taxing. And I'm fully under the impression of that as well, because this is the first big implementation of Unreal Engine 5 after RoboCop that has got ray traced reflections, ray traced ambient occlusion, and nanite in full operation both on Xbox and on PC. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what it's going to take on these GPUs going forward in order to hit a high level of quality alongside more than 60 frames in some of these new technologies. And I think you're going to have that headroom on PC now
But
going forward.
I feel like a lot of the console games are now not GPU bottleneck, but more
CPU bottleneck, a lot of them, yeah.
So I'm really interested in seeing what they do with the CPUs next gen.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like the GPUs are the problem. And
no, the GPUs,
again,
like I say, we've mentioned it before. The difference PC has is that they're not strictly hindered because of VRAM. They have VRAM and regular RAM, so they've got a kind of support network there as well as the CPU. The difference is Xbox and PlayStation don't have that support network. They are very much reliant on an APU, which has got a twin bottleneck of the RAM being at 16 gig partitioned, and the CPU, which isn't where it needs to be. It could do with being significantly higher clocked for starters. Like 3.5 gigahertz is not ideal when the average clock rate of them are anywhere between 3.1 and 3.5, so they're not really getting utilized properly there, and it is creating a bottleneck, especially when you're then limited on top of that with the GPU within the APU being restricted to anywhere between 14 gig and 10 gig of available RAM capacity for operational purposes. So there's a couple of bottlenecks in the consoles that the PC doesn't have, but the PC have got other issues to worry about.
True that. Yeah, it's just interesting to me to see where are they going with the CPUs, because you mentioned a lot of great points there, and maybe next time they both of them are not doubling down on, okay, now we got a little bit more flippity flops here and there in the GPU, but rather look at, okay, do we have a proper state of the art CPU in there that can actually utilize not the shared memory pool, but like have the video memory pool and your actual RAM split it.
Well, some of the high-end CPU on PC, and well, some of the better end of the scale CPU on PC now are clocked anywhere between 5 gigahertz and 9.1 gigahertz, which tells you the disparity.
Yeah, but you've got a very different cooling system.
Yeah, of course, but then that's another thing. But Also on PC, you've got a multitude of fans whereas on Xbox, for instance, you've got this one giant vacuum fan that sucks in from the bottom and brings it out the top, which is significantly better than PlayStation's implementation of that closed shell with a fan on one side that draws it in against the shell. And then, of course, liquid. One of them's got the liquid metal on the CPU, which has proven to cause more issues than it is good. And then you've got the vapor chamber stuff as well, which has been used in phones for a number of years now, which is okay, but it's not ideal for when you're using really high end performance cards. So yeah, there's gonna need to be changes on both cooling system when they are implementing higher end CPU frequencies, but it's gonna be needed if we're gonna see this next jump in performance for consoles. They're gonna have to rethink the entire structure of what these consoles look like, and they may very well end up looking more like PC towers going forward than our traditional consoles.
Listen, I would much rather prefer a ugly ass console that has proper cooling that would allow to go up towards maybe not 5, but at least above 4 gigahertz clock speed. But it's probably maybe just me, but I would take performance over design. Every time. And this race to have the smallest console and the best looking form factor and whatnot, you could easily overcome that by simply, bam, there you have a beast. Yes, it looks like an ugly ass PC, but I would much rather prefer that. But yeah, because who buys a console based on the looks? It's like,
because no one would have bought Xbox based on its looks. It's just a box. It is literally a box.
It's just a box. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like the design of it. I prefer it over the way how the PlayStation 5 looks. But yeah, I would. But
I still don't get. I still to this day don't get the shark fin. I just still don't get the shark fin on that thing. Doesn't make any sense.
Like, makes it really hard to clean and dust off. But yeah, again, nobody buys a console for its looks. It's the games for first and foremost, alongside, of course, then performance and power and that's the reason why you buy a console. So yeah, man, I can't believe it. We are 3.5 years into this generation, and never ever can I remember a generation where we started to talk about next gen that early. I know basically next gen talk starts now because we have these rumors out there that Xbox might start in 2026 already, maybe 2027, and move away from that like 8-year console cycle.
Well, here's a question that goes in line with that, actually, that I'll let you answer first. It's from Sourblow. He says, if Xbox releases a more premium and powerful next-gen console but earlier, could they get away with a higher price point console at launch, and when the PS6 releases, then bring in a price drop to bring it in line with the PS6?
Interesting question. Maybe. You could probably do that. Again, I would love to have a beefy, high-powered premium console, and if it costs 800, 900, even $1,000, I would be all up for that. But of course, I'm not a normie. I'm a hardcore gamer. That's my hobby, and for me, it would be absolutely worth it spending $1,000 on a console, because I play that thing thousands of hours each year. you know. So it's really not that thing. The question is, if you do a 2 SKU thing, they could definitely get away with that. If you have the handheld at 550, yeah, and the premium box at 900, and then bring the premium box down to, I don't know, 600-700, because let's be real, the PS6 will also not launch at 500 again. It's not going to happen. The next PlayStation, and I mean the PS6 here, yeah, it will at least be 6, if not 700 at launch. So yeah, maybe that's an option there. But yeah, JB1521 says 6 years seems like enough time. I do agree. We don't need an 8-year console cycle. I'm not a fan of an 8-year console cycle. If you think
it was almost
about
9 years, wasn't it? Almost 9 years by the time this gen really kicked off. And even then, this gen took 2 years to really start get going. So you're talking about a 10-year console generation.
Yeah, 10 years after the Xbox One came out, we still had games coming out. For most games by that time were still cross-gen games. And if you think about a 10-year-old PC, you know, or 10-year-old smartphone,
yeah,
or anything in the technology sector, that is a long ass time. And even if you don't take the 8 years, let's take the 8 years. 8 years is such a long time in technology, and yeah, we already see it now. We are at this point in the generation where like you said, it barely feels it kicked off like a year ago or so, where we started to get the first June next or current gen only games, you know, and now we're already hitting those limitations. Yeah, the games come out at 30, and this is just what happens to technology. And now you look at amazing games, amazing looking games like Hellblade 2 coming really soon, in a couple of weeks. We'll be playing that, probably the best looking game ever made.
Yeah.
And yeah, it already has to play around with a lot of tricks to get it running on this console, because yeah,
there's no other.
It's not just a 30 FPS, you know. It's the 16:9 letterbox thing.
Yeah,
that removes you about a third of the pixel you need to render on screen, and not even then they are rendering it at full resolution. They are rendering it at lower. What was it, 1070 or something? That what Digital Foundry said.
I mean, they said. Yeah, they said that it was hard to track the pixel count because of all the processing that they'd had on top of it. So they had chromatic aberration and film grain and all of the motion blurs, and they were like, from what we counted, on one still frame in a fight was possibly 10.
Maybe, but you know what I mean. We are here. Yeah, Unreal 5 taxing, great engine, but very demanding and taxing engine.
Yeah.
Software moves along, hardware moves along, and consoles kind of stand still with those long ass cycles.
Yeah.
So
there's no other hardware like market that is as held back as games consoles. None. Mobiles, literally every year, a brand new state-of-the-art high-end phone comes out every single year without fail, and people buy them. Without doubt, the new premium model, every time a new GPU is out, people buy them. Nvidia just crossed one of the highest and most, I think there are 2 trillion or something they're valued at now because of their GPU. And they've said something like 100 million Nvidia GPU now on the RTX cards. So that's the 30 series and the 40 series have crossed 100 million units sold. So it tells you people want the high-end stuff, and every time they come out, people will buy them. So we shouldn't be in a point now with game consoles where they're only releasing hardware every 6 to 8 years. That's far too far. It's far too far.
Not even cars are,
Yeah.
launching in that time frame.
Every year, a
new
year
car
or
light
two
is
at
like every
most.
5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And then you have a certain facelift, like the mid-gen upgrade,
Yeah.
thing in between. So even those super high priced products, move along faster than consoles do, and we expect developers to take care and use everything that the console has to offer. And we always say, but they haven't been really properly used. Have they? I think Hellblade is definitely using everything they got. They squeezed everything out of this thing. And yes, you can do a lot of things also on the software side of things. The software moves along, and Unreal will be becoming more performant over the years. That's definitely the case. But at the very end of the day, again, and so I would absolutely love that for them to move away from a 8-year console cycle and really actually bring out this new hardware in 2026. And so yes, it's absolutely okay to sit here in 24 and start to speculate about what could they do with the next gen. All right, Dutch.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add? Final statement on this subject before we move along?
No, this subject's always interesting because there's a lot. It's not just speculation. It's just, especially when you like discussing what essentially makes up the systems that create the games, and what is it that's holding back one particular market over the rest of the markets. Consoles have a lot of things to talk about, so I think it's always interesting to discuss this topic because there's a lot of areas we can cover where there would be benefits to a lot of things that we can point out, whether it be shorter timescales, different GPUs, APUs, CPUs, RAM configurations, cooling systems, whatever it may be. There's always a lot to talk about that would benefit the systems going forward, and again, part of that is discussing different price points. So we spend a lot of time,
and I think, let me touch on the price point thing one more time, because you make a lot of sense. If you look at every consumer electronic product, there's always a premium product. And it's usually the highest selling thing.
Yeah.
And I don't get why consoles have not adapted to that idea of having a premium device. Xbox went with the Series S, a low tier SKU. Yes. Cool. It's cool that it's out there. But what about the premium segment?
Yeah.
And with that actually being able to differentiate yourself towards your competition, I really don't know why neither of them, Xbox or PlayStation, have picked that idea up. I mean, they must have some data and some market analysis on whether that would be like a product people would be interested in. It's just, without having that data, for me, it's hard to believe that there isn't a market out there.
Oh, there absolutely is, because we've seen this when we touch on mobile again. If you have a look at Apple, they've got the regular 15, then they've got the 15 Plus and the 15 Pro. Like, that'll be the next three. Is it already 15 or is it 14? I can't remember. I'm not an Apple person, 15. But they have the regular.
I mean, neither, but
it's the regular, the Plus, and the Pro. There's your three, your low end, your middle end, your high end. And on Samsung, they have the FE. So they have the Samsung 21 FE. Then they have the Samsung 21, 21 Plus, and the 21 Ultra. And then, of course, for any other brand, they do exactly the same thing. They'll have the regular, the Plus, and the Ultra. And they do that every time because there's always someone that wants the budget. There's always someone that wants not the budget, but not the best. And there's someone that always wants the best. So they always cater to all three. So it's Xbox had it right when they catered to the, okay, well, we need to cater to the low end as well as the regular consumer. But you also now need to add in that, right, let's cater to the high end. Okay, so we've got the low end. This is our absolute base. All of them have the same APU. They're all clocked the same. So that's not the CPU frequency is not going to be any different. That's going to be clocked the same across the board. They're all going to have the same cores. However, each one's going to have different implementations of how powerful the GPU is in that APU, and that's what dictates the pricing. So I don't know, like you say, I don't know why they haven't attacked that premium market yet. They used to. We used to get that when we had like the Xbox Elite or something along those lines. Like, granted, that was just a hard drive space, but it at least had the brand, you know what I mean? At that point, larger hard drives were, to be fair, one of the things that was the most costly on the market was a bigger hard drive.
Yeah.
So to give more hard drive space was like, whoa, okay, this one's coming out and it's got 500 gig. Whereas the stuff that I've got in here now is like 25 gig and I've got memory cards. Like, that was what you had to deal with the 360. So the fact that they brought out an Elite version with a much bigger hard drive was what people were concerned about, because hard drive space. Now, of course, we have a standard 1 terabit, which is exactly what you get with every computer as standard anyway, is a terabit SSD.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have now expandable storage there, so you can expand it with an SSD on the PS5, or you can expand it with the proprietary on the Xbox. And again, I'd rather see Xbox possibly go over to what PlayStation have done and just have SSD. It's far simpler. They don't need to worry about what is working, what isn't working. They can just say, okay, we've got an SSD slot. You can just plug in whatever and it works. That'll do.
Yeah.
That'll be much better for them, in all honesty, because people will end up buying more space to just fit more games on instead of waiting for the price to come down on something that's horrifically overpriced. And then all you've got to worry about then is, okay, how can we increase the performance between the models in order to make the premium one an actual premium model versus this one? And there's the differences. You're worrying about performance more than you are about things that you worried about in the past, but having an elite model or a high-end premium model should be something that both of them need to think about for future generations. Here's a low end, here's a mid-market, here's a high-end.
Again, if you think about the differentiation towards a competitor, can you imagine either one of them, had that premium console, like the €1,000 console or $1,000 console or so? Yeah. If you think about that, it would really make you would make like a lot. You could really make a differentiated purchase decision. So, the games are the one thing, but the other thing is then, okay, how do the games look? Now, let's be real. Yeah, I know fanboys argue over, and we got 1 frame more on this console and we got a pixel more on that console, but at the end of the day, for almost everyone, including almost every hardcore gamer, because nobody notices this stuff in during actual gameplay, the games look the same on PlayStation and Xbox. With such a premium console, you would actually notice a difference. And then, you can bring up, okay, developers have to develop for more SKUs then again, because you cannot just have the premium console. I get that. You have to have something at around 500, in the future probably 600. So at that price point, you have to have something there. And then you have like the multiple SKU argument again. And I'm still a little confused on why this is such a big deal on consoles.
It doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. If you look at PC, and I know a lot of games also run horrible on PC, but then that's not the issue because there are so many configurations. But if you think about it, on a PC, you have millions of different PC configurations out there. You have this CPU with that GPU and this much RAM and this and that, and the sheer amount of configuration. So nobody is developing a game and has to put in so much extra work because they have to make it also run on a 4070 and a 4080. It's like you never hear that stuff. The mobile phone segment, same. Thousands of different hardware configurations out there, from the worst, from the €100 smartphone, that takes like 10 seconds to open up WhatsApp,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
to the highest end iPhone out there, and I've never heard any developer complain about it.
Nope.
Not one. What is the big issue with those console configurations? I really do not get it. And yes, I actually had with a developer in a DM an argument about this a while ago. Yeah, it's because we have to optimize for this and that. And I said, like, what the fuck? You have to do that. Don't you have to do that on PC as well? Why don't you have to do it on PC? And I did not get a proper explanation. And granted, it was just one guy. And we are cool. Yeah, I like him. But it's like, I really don't understand it. And if anyone has a good argument on why that is a issue on consoles, please let me know. I would be really interested in. But I do not understand what is so special about consoles. They run on the same architecture, x86. At its core, it's DirectX 12 based, as is Windows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have Vulkan on PlayStation, and yes, and what is the big fuss about console? Console is just one more hardware configuration running, granted, running on a different OS. I give this is the one thing where console's different. Yeah. But then it shouldn't be a problem to optimize for Xbox Series S and X. It shouldn't. And I really don't understand. Anyways, so what do we want for next gen? We want a premium SKU, we want a handheld, and we want that PlayStation and Xbox do things differently this time. One of them having an NVIDIA GPU in there, Xbox, for instance, running now next gen on NVIDIA GPUs or ARM. At least it would make the console comparisons interesting again.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. All right, I ran out of gameplay. I have to change the gameplay. During that, Dutch, we are almost 2 hours into this show again.
Yes.
Already, which just shows you how quickly time can pass when you're having fun discussing stuff.
Yeah.
Let us move along. And since we are on the subject of graphics and performance and stuff, let us briefly talk about Gear 6, because we touched upon Gear 6 right before the show last week. We had the rumors that came out. Gear 6 might be shown at the summer showcase, and we've talked about that last week. But the days after, a lot of people came out. Yeah, you're not ready for how good Gear 6 looks. Yeah, we've seen the likes of Jess Corden come out and say that, and Shinobi and people like that. So I briefly wanted to use this as a segue into the next topic before we move away from Xbox. And hearing all that about how great Gear 6 looks, I mean, we know the Coalition are the masters of Unreal Engine, right?
Yeah.
It also got me thinking, of course, what are they going to do frame rate wise again? Because if you remember, Gears 5 launched the campaign at 30 and only the multiplayer had 60.
Yeah.
Are they going for something like that again? We all assume we will see it this year at the summer showcase and in June. But yeah, just your thoughts on this excitement around how good Gear 6 will look and your expectation towards performance. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm expecting 60 and 120 is the options for Gears. But again, with the Coalition, like they're utilized by Epic to showcase and help engineer the engine itself. So if anybody's going to maximize Unreal, it's going to be the Coalition. The Coalition also have another arm within Xbox known as the Technology Division, which is now implemented as an entirely separate workforce that's headed by, I think, the former head of the Coalition that is working now to bring the technology and refinements of Unreal Engine to all the other studios that are using Unreal at Xbox. So if we can get everybody else up to the scratch of the Coalition when it comes to Unreal Engine, then there's going to be absolutely no issues with any of the products that Xbox put out on Unreal going forwards, because if there's one studio that have never been let down by both visuals or performance using Unreal on Xbox. I mean, story aside, obviously people have their qualms about Gears of War's direction as a story or anything like that. That aside, both visually and performance-wise, Gears of War has never been one of those that anybody's stood up and had a complaint about, because it's always performed really well, and it's always looked visually one of the best on Unreal, if not the best implementation of Unreal. So yeah, I've got high expectations of what the Coalition will be able to achieve with Unreal Engine, and their understanding of the engine going forwards, considering they're the ones that have helped Epic engineer it. I think it is going to be a looker. And from what I've seen as well, a lot of the people are saying, listen, like, if you think Hellblade looks good, just wait until you see Gears. Where I would like to say that is true, I think it would be more down to a sharpness perspective than a visually pleasing perspective. I think obviously they're both entirely different styles.
You're butting right now.
That's strange. I should be all right.
Very hard.
It's all right on my end anyway.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm okay. It's all right. Can you hear me fine?
All right. Better now?
Is it okay?
Yeah. Maybe there's a hiccup in the line somewhere. Yeah, it's
okay.
All better
Sweet,
now.
Sweet. Yeah, it's yeah, I would like to say in terms of implementations, I think it's just they both have completely different art styles anyway. We've seen what Ninja Theory are doing, and they're going for complete photogrammetry and ultra realism, whereas Gears is not that. It's an entirely different art style. So in terms of what is visually pleasing to the eye, I think that's going to be down to personal opinion when it comes to comparing the two of them. However, in terms of implementing both high-end performance as well as visuals, I fully expect the Coalition to be almost top of the tree when it comes to showcasing what the console can do. So yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree there. A lot of times these comparisons, this game looks better than this one, or so, just go for different art styles and a different kind of visual presentation. They're just gonna look different. Doesn't mean that one or the other game looks better. So even starting to talk about which will look better is ridiculous. There's no doubt in my mind that Gears will blow us away. With Unreal 5 and like you said, the Coalition basically co-engineering that. Just look at the metrics demo, and that was one of the first Unreal 5 builds. What they and the Coalition supported that and developed it along with Epic was like mind-blowing, right? So I have no doubt that this is going to look insane. I would also assume we will see it this year, this summer. It's been long enough in between Gears 5 and so I don't think it's going to come out this year, but I think we will see an appearance at the summer showcase, simply to like blow people away. Like last year, they did that with Fable, where people just didn't believe that this is in-game gameplay snippets, and that gameplay actually will look that good. Um, that's probably going to be Gears 6 this year, and then we will get it next year or the year after. Maybe Gears 6 is a launch title for the next gen in 26, man. Who knows?
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
I wouldn't put it past them. But it's going to be interesting to see people's, because I fully expect the showcase coming up, we're going to see a more fluid representation of what Fable looks like in play. So seeing that alongside potentially Gears and their showcase of what they're doing is going to be a big visual treat for both people, I think, because Forza Tech, when that's in full swing,
in there. Add Perfect Dark in there, because I mean, come on, it's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
Since they founded that studio and started to work on Perfect Dark, and if you think about Crystal Dynamics,
they've never put out an ugly game.
Not once. Like, I still think the Tomb Raider games are some of the best looking games.
Yeah, Shadow of the Tomb Raider was absolutely beautiful, by the way.
It was, and it still is. It dropped, by the way, in Gamepass.
It is, yeah. It's in Game. If people haven't played Shadow of the Tomb Raider, play it. If you want a visual treat,
absolutely.
If you want a visual treat, play that game.
And that's an quote unquote old game, you know, like what now, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
And it's still one of the best looking games out there. Crystal is absolutely masters when it comes to visual presentations.
Yeah. And they've got performance modes in there as well. So if you want to play in performance, feel free.
Feel free. And I have no doubt that Perfect Dark will at least visually blow us away. I have no idea about the gameplay. I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, but in terms of visuals, so if you do that this summer, you know, like you said, show us extended Fable gameplay, like more continued gameplay, and give us a better idea of, okay, this is really actually gameplay.
I think it's funny to me that people are doubting the Forza Tech engine after what they saw with and this is the newest. This is the first time we see the new implementation of it after Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah.
So
it's a new Forza engine. Well, I'm not sure about. Well, it's obviously a fantastic engine. I mean, Forza Motorsport looked phenomenal, but it didn't blow us. I want to say it didn't blow us away.
But that's more Turn 10 than it is Playground, because Playground have their own tool sets.
And if you look at what Playground did with Forza Horizon 5, still on the old engine,
implementing photogrammetry and everything on that as well.
Everything, and it is still one of the best looking games out there, and I would argue every day that Playground knows to handle that engine better than Turn 10.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%.
As strange as it might sound,
it runs buttery smooth. I did this actually. We did a test on PC the other day because Erwin's trying to get his PC up running, and he's obviously upgraded his to do more racing sims on his PC, and we tested both Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon 5, and the difference in performance between the two on PC is significant. I was getting full, like the highest settings on Forza Motorsport with ray tracing implemented at 2K at 72 frames. On my PC. I don't have a high-end PC. I've got a 3060 with 32 gig of RAM. Right? Forza Motorsport was barely running at 1080p and struggling to hit 60.
Yeah. So that's the thing. And it is. I truly believe that the Forza engine is a powerhouse engine, and you give that in the hands of a Playground, And even if it's now with the third-person action or RPG, you know,
It's much slower.
if
You've got to
they,
think. The way it's implemented is significantly slower. With a racing game, especially Horizon, your car's traveling at 200, 250, 300 miles an hour in some cases, down a
Yeah.
motorway, and it's pulling in all of the world information like as you're going past it in a
Yeah.
split second.
the
In
rendering
Fable,
pipeline is very different.
you just
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
running around.
And I think that Playground has a lot of when people sometimes argue on why are they using that for such a game. Well, that's the thing about Forza Horizon. In Forza Horizon, you have these parts where you're not racing at 300 miles an hour. You stand still in the rainforest,
And it is
and you
hyper
look at
detailed.
at this insanely vibrant, lush, beautiful forest, and you stand in the desert and you look at the sand and the quality of the volumetric effects there, and you stand on the beach with your car and look at the waves crushing, and um, they have handled that engine in a way where you have both, like the fast-paced races where you pull in and have a different kind of rendering pipeline. Therefore, you also have these parts in the game where you're not driving around at an insane speed and optimizing it for that. So yeah, I have no doubt that Fable will blow us away. And then, like you said, if you sprinkle in a Gear 6 teaser in engine and then reveal a perfect dark, you have one hell of an epic showcase with graphic bangers left and right. Yeah. This is definitely the case. Definitely. So yeah, man, June can't come fast enough, right?
Yeah.
Dutch, let us talk briefly about Star Wars Outlaws. Speaking of graphical bangers, you know,
Yeah.
Ubisoft announced the release date this week, along with a story trailer. So we will be playing this game, Star Wars Outlaws, in August.
Yep.
August 25th, and pre-orders are up now, and they released a story trailer. We've seen continued gameplay last year. Like, it was surprising to us all to reveal a game like that with like 10 minutes of continued gameplay. Very uncommon these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this time we did not get continued gameplay, but we got in-engine in-game segments, a great edited story trailer. What did you think, man?
Yep, it looks fantastic, and I mean we saw what the engine is capable of thanks to Avatar's release, and obviously the new engine, the new Snowdrop. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing this game in action, but it looked fantastic the first time we saw it. I didn't expect the first time we saw it to get gameplay footage, and we got a lot. We got like 10 minutes or something of gameplay footage, which was a big
10,
showing.
12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this looked even, again, it looks just equally as great. The game looks fantastic. It's going to be a nice difference on the Star Wars segment, going to play as an outlaw as opposed to a Jedi or a Sith. So it's going to be very interesting to see the opposite end of that and the adventures you can have as an outlaw without like these magical powers. And just having guns and a droid and things like that. So it's going to be a good different kind of story. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is capable of. However, it's going to be a hell of a packed end of the year because we've got Indie releasing, we've got Stalker releasing, we've got Outlaws, we've got Avowed. We've got there's a mountain of games releasing at the tail end of the year. It's going to be insane.
Absolutely.
And there's no doubt after the June showcase we'll have even more games that are going to be releasing that tail end of the year as well. It's going to be a big one. But But
It
I'm
definitely
going to try
will
and fit
be.
it in. I hope it lives up to at least the fondness that Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order had.
Yeah.
And I think as long as it lives up to at least that level of fondness within the community, then it will do well. And that's what I think all Ubisoft can hope for.
I mean, I was actually surprised. First of all, I just switched on my stream to Avatar gameplay because since we are on the subject of Ubisoft and Snowdrop Engine, that game is probably one of the best looking games this gen,
Oh yeah,
and it definitely delivered on console. It looks beautiful on the Series X, the footage I'm running here right now. And so I have no doubt that Star Wars Outlaws will actually look that good.
Yeah.
You know, of course they have shown PC footage, and we will have some drawbacks here, especially on console. But this is what we get. I've no doubt about this. The Snowdrop engine is a beast. And to your point about the release window, I feel like this is actually a good one because, like you said, the rest of the year is going to be nuts. But that's the case basically in every year. And I feel like Avatar struggled exactly with that.
Yeah.
We were still all playing games like Alan Wake and all the good stuff that came out towards the end of the year. And they released that Avatar was basically the last big game in early December that released last year, and people were still struggling with getting through all the other big releases. But if you go first for the summer releases, right after the summer break, because let's be real, July and halfway through August is in most countries the summer break. Yeah. Where I live in Germany, we have a little longer, so we start in August and basically have the summer break till September. But for the most part, that's the summer break. And if you release right after the summer break, and you basically the first big game in the season, everyone is itching for, I want a new game, I want that AAA experience here, and then you bring out a graphical banger that looks good, has a great IP behind it with Star Wars. I feel like the end of August is a good idea to launch, because if you launch end of September, in October or November, you will struggle with all these competitive releases, and a lot of games. Immortals of Avium last year, suffered from that massively. Avatar, feel like that also suffered. But yeah, really looking forward to Star Wars Outlaws. Looked great. An expensive experience if you want the expansion pass or the gold edition as well. That's what now, 110? Greedy Ubisoft there, but
Yeah.
I was surprised about this announcement, because they just announced their showcase in June. And I would have guessed, okay, that's the point where we get the release date trailer and everything. No, they did it up front. So, yeah, I mean, it will still be there. They will definitely show more of the game at the showcase. But
Yeah. I think at the showcase they'll give more of a breakdown as to things like features in the game and okay, this is what you can do in terms of weapons and things like that, and this is what you can do in terms of traversal and exploration.
You can explain more.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Dutch. Let us come to the community questions. Woohoo! So each and every Wednesday, you guys can write in either on YouTube or Twitter or in the DMs or wherever you want, and give us some topics or questions that you would like us to discuss here on this show. And we are not locking that behind like Patreon questions or anything, so everyone can write in. And Siki did so and asks, this since fully yorked will be the last grounded update, do you guys think they should immediately start working on grounded 2? What do you want from the sequel? Personally, I'd like more sandbox stuff and a character creator.
What was this? What game is this for? Sorry.
Grounded 2. He said the fully yorked update is, and they said that is the last grounded update.
Yeah.
And he asks, should they start immediately working on grounded 2? What do you want from the sequel? He personally wants sandbox stuff and a character creator.
It depends on what direction they go with the game. It was in Grounded 1, it was fully focused on kids being shrunk and being in this new world, etc. If they go down more the borrower's route for the second one, or maybe Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where the adults go into it, and I think it was maybe 2 in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where the adults go into it as well. They could implement maybe these adult characters into this story as well, where you have these larger than life adult tiny people that are running around. And but yeah, maybe when we're talking about stories, etc., have maybe a little bit more of a not trying to figure out the world, because you did that in Grounded 1, but maybe some kind of actual action adventure story within the Grounded world that you've got in this open world sandbox that you've got there, and have this actual kind of story, full-on story campaign. The story campaign in Grounded 1 was more based on figuring out what these kind of this technology was that was around the map, and so on and so forth, and finding all the science behind it and things. And that was cool. And it was great for kids, etc. But I think there's more that can be done from a story perspective there to make it a little bit more more of a kind of an action adventure game that's set in the Grounded universe, as well as having it as a bigger sandbox. And again, you could have it breaking out of just the garden. Instead of being just the garden, you could have maybe a neighborhood that you can kind of traverse between. And as we've seen with the likes of Toy Story, for instance, in this neighborhood, you can have like maybe a supermarket that you can go into, or some kind of toy store or something that you can go into, and things that you can implement on that front, where it's more like it implements more of a Toy Story vibe into the Grounded universe, which would be quite cool. But I think there's a lot of room for when it comes to making smaller, like everything look massive, and you making tiny and having the world from a different perspective. I think there's a lot of room for maneuver. There's a lot of possibilities as to what you can explore from a universe perspective as well.
Yeah.
Because from that front, they didn't implement things like weather in the first one. Like, what happens if all of a sudden there's a massive flood, or there's a load of rain comes down? Like, you didn't see what happens to like these tiny things when rain comes down. Like, that would be, it's going to rain, get shelter quickly, because these giant raindrops. Or what happens if there's like lightning or huge gusts of wind or things like that. Like, implementing more environmental changes as well, that to us, a normal person of normal size, would be nothing, like a light breeze.
Absolutely.
To a tiny
I would love
person.
that. I would really love that. I mean, I got basically 2 or 3 things I would want from a Grounded 2.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved the first one. I was actually super surprised by that game. I didn't play it when it was in early access, but when it released, I played it, and I did not expect to have that much fun with the game. But you could tell 2 things. The first is that it was built from a small team with a small budget. That's why we didn't get that many variations in, like, the environments. So we have different biomes, but more or less everything looked the same.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely one thing where they could improve upon, of course. And then the other thing is where I really did enjoy the story, but the way how the story was presented was a lot through reading through log files or listening to audio tapes and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a much better way, but that requires a bigger team and a bigger budget. I would bet that they will get that for the second one. So it's really not that I didn't like the story, just the way how they presented it. So I think that's one thing that they can improve upon, and then go more into the survival stuff. Like you said, weather conditions is one thing. We could, with different biomes, you could see a lot more different, hazards from the environment, and have different ways on how to prepare for that on the survival aspect. But yeah, I would love to have a grounded 2-man.
I've got a question as well in chat here, actually, before we go into yours.
Sure.
From Fantu Sarcher, he says, given the amount of possible games coming out for Xbox this year, what would disappoint you the most if any particular game got delayed till 2025?
I'm out.
Yep, I would agree.
Easily.
Yeah.
My most anticipated game from Xbox this year. I know everyone says indie, and I don't get me wrong, excited for indie, but I'm a huge RPG fan.
Yeah.
I love Obsidian RPGs because I think they are masters in storytelling in RPGs and the way how they have how they write their stories and the way how you can make choices in games. They did just nail that aspect, and I'm also a big fan of high fantasy. And basically this is a Skyrim from Obsidian. Not that it's Skyrim-like, but it kind of is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an Obsidian game, but with Skyrim vibes, and I'm so excited for that game. I think it looks phenomenal, especially after the showing in January. I'm 110% behind that, and if that would get delayed, honestly, that would bum me out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. As much as I really want indie this year, that would be the least one I'd be bothered about. Like Hellblade was my most anticipated. I get that next month, so I'm happy. Avowed is second, mainly because after playing Starfield, it made me realize how much I needed a new Skyrim. And Obsidian, I think, are the perfect studio to create something whilst we're waiting for Elder Scrolls 6 that's going to live up to that. So I'm really looking forward to Avowed for a fantasy RPG from them. So I can't wait for Avowed either, and that would be definitely my most disappointing if that got moved.
Especially when I think about Fallout.
Yeah.
And we think about Fallout a lot these days. So
yeah.
Obsidian has made, in my opinion, the best Fallout game.
Yeah.
So what's the one time where they took actually a Bethesda IP, made a game, and made it an Obsidian version, and New Vegas was simply awesome. Best Fallout game out there. And now this isn't really Elder Scrolls, but it kind of is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Their version. It's their version.
So I have very high hopes for Avowed. Definitely.
And I think we're forgetting as well from Obsidian, they've still got one more game that we need to see.
Yeah. Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah.
Plus the one they didn't reveal yet. So
yeah, I cannot wait for Outer Worlds 2. That's like one of my most anticipated games in the pipeline on Xbox. I loved the first Outer Worlds. I played that to death when it came out. The one thing I loved about it the most is it doesn't outstay its welcome. It was there. It told an awesome story. It had choices. Granted, those choices could have been a little bit more impactful in the universe, but they did impact. But it didn't outstay its welcome. It was like 25 hours. You could go back and there was replay options there. Then it had some awesome expansions. But it was just it was an awesome universe to explore, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with a little bit more time and money under their wing.
Yeah, absolutely. So But I feel like it's going to be a while before we see that.
I hope not, but I also agree. I think it's going to be tail end of
Yeah.
the generation by the time we see that.
Yeah, probably. Assuming again the tail end is 26.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Dave Ramos sends in. Okay, let's get down to brace tags. What are the odds that Xbox surprises us with a handheld this holiday? And white or black? What would you prefer it to be?
Black. White is the worst when you're holding on to it for a long period of time. It gets so grubby and you need to clean it frequently. And no matter how many times you clean your hands or wash your hands, them things need cleaned.
I mean, white tech does look beautiful.
It does.
Look at this alley. It really does look awesome. I love white tech, but I do agree that it's not the best color choice for a handheld.
Nope.
Same as like white controller. Looks cool.
Yeah.
But I have the Starfield controller, you know, and I never use it because I'm like, yeah, with my sweaty hands and everything.
Yeah. You've got to clean them
bad
often, especially if you have a long game session. You're like, oh my god, like my hands are clean. Why is it this grubby? It's you just because of like holding onto it and you get sweaty hands when you're playing and things like that. It within no time it builds up and you've just got to, it's a nightmare. Black controllers are much better for that.
So as much as cool as it looks, in white, for a handheld, definitely black. Putting the LE aside again.
Before you start playing.
It's so tempting, man. It's like so tempting. I really love this device. Honestly, it is. It feels really good in the hands. Like I like the button press points. They feel like really good. The sticks are awesome. The screen is great. Love the LE. Anyways.
Yes.
What do you think about a surprise this holiday? What's the second part of the question?
It depends what route they go down. If they go down just releasing a standard handheld that's not really going to push the boat out, then possibly. If it's something that they're looking to implement with next-gen hardware in mind, then no.
Yeah, see, it's that's the thing. Yeah, when does next gen start? If next gen starts 28,
which
I don't feel like it will. Yeah, but let's assume 28. Then it would make sense to do that. Instead of a mid-gen refresh, deliver not a mid-gen refresh, but a mid-gen change of ways to play, you know? If you start 26, launch it along with that. As much as I want this Xbox native handheld, I truly do, because I've talked about this a lot on this show, about the third-party problem of these PC handhelds. Therefore, I want an Xbox thing, an Xbox handheld. And the question that he really posts here, that Dave really posts, is we've learned from the leaks last year that we will get this fall a Xbox Series X Slim. And that's basically what it is. Same hardware specs, bigger hard drive, a little bit better Wi-Fi, smaller form factor. So it's a Slim. Yeah, let's call it what it is. That is what leaked. When the stuff leaked, Phil came out and said, yeah, it's unfortunate it leaked, but be aware, plans change, and they have changed in between date of 2022 and when it was supposed to come out. However, I don't feel like you will develop a handheld, Xbox handheld, within 2 years. That just seems too short for that. However, they could surprise us. Maybe they found a way to do that, because with all these PC handhelds out there are chips available.
Yeah.
And the Lenovo and the Asus ROG Ally, and so they all use the same chip. It's all the same AMD APU, and if they jump on that train and just use the exact same APU, and you get a lot of the development time down. You know what I mean? So I don't feel it's out of the complete possible to do. It would be a big surprise, though. Yeah. We know that at least some hardware will come, whatever it is. Yeah. I still believe it's going to be the Slim with the new controller, just like the leak said. And I'm not going to get the Slim, but I'm definitely going to get the new controller.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get the new controller. And I do hope they implement the likes of haptics and things into it. Who knows what game that's going to be, the first to use haptics and things in there. But in terms of new controller, we're looking at potential new technologies included within it, and a proper refinement of the controller instead of just an incremental upgrade with a share button. Then that's something that I'll be wanting to have as a primary controller.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that's a bit of a difference. In terms of a slim console, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me. But it's going to have no performance benefits, so there's no point.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from Sith Lord.
Okay.
It's more a statement than a question. He writes in, with Microsoft investing more in Japan and China, the handheld is definitely on its way. A good second system on the go on the train.
Yep.
Yeah. Mobile devices. I mean, see, I totally get the demand for it. You see at the success. Look at the success of the Steam Deck, and Asus and Lenovo apparently are also very successful. Yeah, Lenovo just announced, we are definitely working on a Legion 2. Yeah, they're going to bring that out. If it wasn't a success for them, they wouldn't do that. There's a demand for high quality handhelds out there, and especially if you look at in the Asian market, that's the number one gaming platform is mobile. Yeah, there is this demand for this, and you look at the success of a Switch. And I know it's probably not just the form factor that made the Switch successful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's software that sells the systems, but still, there is this market, and I feel like I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. That the question is, how long is that window open where there is this demand for handhelds, and whether that market will also be saturated at some point. If more and more manufacturers come out and bring those devices out, when is the market saturated? Right now, I think that the demand is super high, so it would definitely make sense to launch it as early as possible from that perspective. Yeah, we don't know whether the demand will be still there, or whether the handheld market will be saturated in 26. Yeah, if you're simply too late. That's what happened to the Kinect, if you think about it. Yeah, you had this massive success with the Wii and the non-controller input, like the the
hand waves. Yeah.
hand waves and stuff, and they had the Move on the PlayStation, and they had the first Kinect, which didn't properly work. But yeah, by the time the good Kinect came out, that market wasn't there anymore, and we don't know whether the handheld market will develop itself. So
yeah, I think the one thing that they've got slightly in their favor is the fact that we all know the Switch 2 is coming next year.
yeah,
and the popularity of Switch has never faded. It's one of the most successful consoles of all time. one of the most successful hybrid devices of all time. It's predominantly a handheld that can be docked. And of course, we've seen successes in both the Steam Deck and the Ally of exactly the same thing. They're dockable hybrid devices, hybrid PC handhelds. Having a dockable hybrid console handheld to go against Switch in the Asian market in an Xbox handheld, I think they've got a little bit on this occasion. They've got a little bit more time on their hands because of the Switch's potential launch next year, which means that you'd still be, especially in the opening 2 years of that console's life cycle, you've got maybe 26, 27 to get a hybrid handheld console into the market from Xbox before you start to see some saturation. And I think we're going to see similar from PlayStation as well, because we know that they've got Project Q. Q Lite was the Portal, and Q was meant to be the full-fledged handheld PlayStation, which was a native player of games. Also in the works, so there's a possibility we'll end up seeing Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation all with a native version of a handheld / hybrid system go in the market within the next couple of years. So it's going to be an interesting time, to be honest. It's one thing that I would happily invest in, is having the new Switch, because I need one. An Xbox handheld and a PlayStation handheld, all for, it's mainly for traveling than it is for in the house. Although in the house it becomes beneficial, because sometimes maybe you, like me, you've got your big consoles upstairs in a big media room like this. And downstairs in the living room, you've just got the TV, and you might have an old console connected to it or something like that. And maybe you want to play one of the new games, but you don't want to buffer on with plugging on the TV and switching channels and things like that. And you just take your handheld and play it, or play it in bed for a couple of hours or an hour or so in the morning or night time before you go to sleep. And it allows you to play games when you don't have as much time. Sometimes you don't have the time to sit down on the sofa and turn the TV on and sit there in front of it and things like that. Sometimes the only time you've got is, right, okay, I'm going to bed. I can give it maybe half an hour out of this game quickly before I go to sleep. Like, it allows
Don't
people
forget
to...
that the big TV is occupied.
Yeah.
When you're living as a family, you know.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I totally get the demand. I'm a big fan of handhelds, no doubt. So yeah, fingers crossed, man. I want one, and rather sooner than later. Last question came in from Stormplayer DX. He said, I have one topic for you. EA put the Dead Space franchise on hold. This comes from the industry insider Jason Schreier. Yeah, I think we covered that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for writing in. Dutch, let us come with that to an end of this show. It has been an absolute blast.
Yes.
For the most part of the show, we discussed all the awesome tech stuff for potentials with different architectures, different console designs and price points and everything. It was an absolute blast. I want to say a big thank you to this awesome community, all the people that tuned in here today. Whether it was live or whether you're listening to this after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, big thank you for lending us your ear. Dutch, what have you coming up? Let everyone know. We don't talk enough about what you've coming up on this show.
Yes.
Before next week, you have to send me the trailer.
Yes, bro. Yes, I will. So the Community Indie Showcase 2024, of course, got my nice new Community Indie Showcase T-shirt on now. So yes, the Community Indie Showcase 2024. So that's coming out on the 27th of April at 7 p.m. UK, 8 p.m. Europe, and 2 p.m. Eastern. The one thing about the trailer is that it has 3 p.m. Eastern on there because it was daylight saving time when I did it. So obviously, hindsight, forgot to change the time on that. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern, not 3 p.m. But yeah, so that's coming up on the 27th. Again, more than 60 games, just over 2 hours. Awesome developers and community members and platforms involved, like last year. So I can't wait to showcase that off as well. It's had a nice graphical upgrade as well this year, like we did last time, and make sure to make it nice and sweet and look awesome for everybody that's watching. And I'll be working on it a little bit after this show as well, because I've just got the graphics through from Sean LeBrie, so I'll be able to start getting to work on some of the basics, like the starting soon screen and the overlays and the backgrounds and things, so I can get all that stuff underway now. But yes, so that's what I'm working on there. Outside of that, playing a little bit more Rebirth. Might do a gameplay stream over the weekend. You might see me on guesting on other podcasts. It'll be ad hoc when I do. It just depends on time and things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Might have the occasional video upload as well, but it's all ad hoc at the moment, depending on how busy I am.
Can totally understand that,
yeah.
Ryan.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yes.
All right, guys. So again, a big thank you to everyone who tuned in. We will be back, of course, next week, regular time, Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Europe, or 7 p.m. UK time. And yeah, the weekend is near. Enjoy some games. Enjoy watching Fallout. I know I will be enjoying that. And yeah, I see you guys next week. Don't forget to game on.
Something's wrong, I feel it circling like vultures around my brain. Couldn't see the danger in your eyes. Draw me in, got me spinning now like water to a drain. You were perfect till I realized you hadn't shown your face. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade, you're ringing out your prey. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. I was deaf to the ringing bells, wanting me to break, deafened by the sirens' soothing lies. I can't leave, I am in too deep, been sinking for a while, prisoner to the same thing I despise, devoted to a fake. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade, you're ringing out your prey. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. You sing a pretty song to drag my heart along. A siren serenade, you're ringing out your prey. Your lungs are wrecking, you know it's wrong. It's over, same story. You lose to love and glory. It's over, same story. You